All right, let's talk about stress. Not just as this vague, overwhelming feeling, but as something we can actually decode. We're going to break down exactly what's happening in your mind and body when life gets, well, when it gets intense. So let's jump right in.
I mean, yeah, who isn't, right? Bills, work, family, it's just this constant background noise in our lives. We all know what it feels like to be stressed. That's the easy part. But just knowing you're stressed doesn't really help.
In fact, what if asking, am I stressed, is the wrong question entirely? Seriously, it's kind of a dead-end street. It doesn't point to any solution. We need to completely reframe how we think about this. And this, right here, this nails the shift. We need to stop asking, am I stressed? Because the answer is probably yes. And start asking the much more powerful question, how well am I coping? Because that is where the change happens.
This quote really gets to the heart of it. Stress is just a part of life. It's a given. The real game changer is how you react to it. So let's spend the next few minutes digging into what those reactions actually look like, starting with what's going on inside our own heads.
First up, the mental overload. This is all about that internal chatter and how when we're not coping well, our own minds can become a really chaotic place to be.
You know that feeling, right? It's like your brain is a broken record, stuck on a worry, replaying the same anxious thought over and over and over, and you just can't find the off switch. Well, that's mental overload.
And these patterns are so specific, aren't they? It's not just a general, I feel stressed. It's that looping thought that you are completely and utterly overwhelmed. It's staring at a simple to-do list and feeling paralyzed, with no idea where to even start. It's that little voice in your head that whispers, you can't handle this. These are the real signatures of a coping system that's under serious strain.
And oh, this one is brutal. The comparison trap. This deep down belief that everybody else has it all figured out and you're the only one drowning. It feels so true in the moment, but it's almost always a lie. This kind of internal chaos is one of the biggest signs that our coping skills are being pushed to the limit.
Okay, so that's what's happening in our minds. But it never just stays up there, does it? All that mental pressure has to go somewhere. And a lot of the time, it shows up in our bodies.
It's a famous saying for a reason. It's so true. Long after you've tried to mentally move on from something, your body is still holding on to that tension. It's sending up these little flares, these physical signals telling you that you're running on empty.
And here are some of the classics. The tension headaches that just won't quit. The knots in your shoulders. And isn't it just the worst when you're completely exhausted, but your mind won't shut up long enough for you to actually sleep? And then there are the habits. Reaching for another coffee to power through, or a drink at night to wind down, or junk food to just zone out. Our bodies and our habits, they tell the story.
So we've got the mind and we've got the body. The next piece of the puzzle is our behavior. What does all this stress actually make us do? Or maybe more importantly, what does it make us not do?
This just paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? You're trying to juggle everything, work, home, health, relationships, and you can just feel them all in the air. And then you hear it. Thud. One of them hits the floor. That's the feeling, right there.
So sometimes we just shut down, we check out. But other times we do the exact opposite of what needs to be done. Hello, procrastination. You've got this huge, important, scary task looming, and suddenly scrolling through your phone for an hour feels absolutely essential. It's avoidance. And you see it in the little things too. The laundry pile that turns into a mountain, the unopened mail, the phone calls you keep meaning to return.
Okay, so this whole thing isn't happening in a vacuum. This internal storm starts creating ripples. And those ripples eventually spread out and, well, they start to affect the people around us.
Has anyone ever said that to you? A partner or a good friend? A lot of the time, the people who know us best are the first to see that something's off, sometimes even before we fully admit it to ourselves. It's like a little warning flag from the outside world. And this is a big reason why they notice. The short fuse. Suddenly, every little thing gets under your skin. Traffic is infuriating. A slow checkout line feels like a personal attack. It's not because you become a jerk overnight, it's because your buffer, your capacity for patience, is just completely gone.
And what's interesting here is that it goes in two directions. There's the lashing out, getting snippy, arguing more, but there's also the pulling in. You start to withdraw. You don't want to be a burden, so you avoid the very friends who could support you. Stress creates this weird paradox where it makes you both more prickly and more isolated at the exact same time.
So we've walked through the mental, the physical, the behavioral, and the social signs.
Now, the point of this is not to make you feel bad about how you're doing. Not at all. It's to give you a kind of personal map, a way to see your own unique stress patterns more clearly.
And that's the absolute truth. You can't change what you can't see. Just being able to recognize and name your response, to say, oh, that's what I do when I'm under pressure, that is the most powerful first step you can possibly take.
So take a second and think about your own profile. Which one of these is your go-to? Does stress hit you in the head first with all those racing thoughts? Or do you feel it in your body, the headaches, the bad sleep? Maybe your signature move is avoidance and procrastination, or maybe you notice it most in your relationships. For most of us, it's a mix, but we usually have a primary one.
And that brings us full circle. The question isn't, are you stressed, but how are you coping? And just by recognizing your patterns, you've already shifted from being a passive victim of stress to an active observer. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you can see your own profile, what's one small, manageable step you can take, maybe even today, to start changing that pattern?